Yesterday we talked about the top 5 Master System and NES games that I like the box arts for. Today we're doing the top 5 that I hate the box arts for. And we're just going to get right to it because I've got quite the rant on my number 1 pick, the one that inspired this list. So first off, for the Master System, I'm holding up 3 titles, but we're counting this as one. Any of the Sega card games. Yeah, it's just a hand holding the card with the game on it. I mean, to be fair though, Teddy Boy and Ghost House are pretty cool. This is one of those titles you just don't talk about though. Next up, kind of in the same vein as Teddy Boy or Ghost House. It's a pretty cool game, but it's that early Master System box art that you love to hate. Kung Fu Kid. Just a guy in a generic Kung Fu outfit. But it's a little bit better than the next one, which I mentioned yesterday, and that's Black Belt, which is just a guy's foot. And of course, I mentioned it yesterday as well, and it has to be on the list because it's really just that bad, and that's Pro Wrestling. Funny thing though, both Pro Wrestling and Black Belt are pretty good games. Now this last one, some of you might like, and it's not a terrible cover, but it's just a poor representation of the game. That's Alex Kidd in High Tech World. Like, this should have probably been the cover of the first Alex Kidd game, which I mentioned yesterday. I actually do enjoy that, but this would have been better for that. This does not represent the game at all. And also, I cannot stand this game. There are probably people out there who really enjoy it, but I'm not one of them. So let's move on to the NES, and I'm going to show you yet another title with a guy in a karate outfit, Dragon Power, also known as Dragon Ball. And I have no idea what's going on. And it's kind of funny though, because like this, and Kung Fu on the NES, and Kung Fu Kid, which I just showed, and even Black Belt was clearly supposed to be a guy in a karate gi, but you just see his leg. They all have terrible artwork, and you know the games are pretty good. Then you look at something like Karate Champ, which is like the only game with a guy with a karate with a guy wearing a karate gi on it, and that game just blows. So it's kind of funny that it works out that way. Next up, Low G-Man. It's just this ugly yellow with the guy's legs on it. I really like the game. It's one of those. It's not for everyone, but I enjoy it. But that artwork does not scream, you know, let's play it. And it's a taxing game, as you can see. So it's kind of funny. There's a little more going on here than with Magician, but Magician just kind of says Magician, but it makes, you know, it looks mysterious and you want to play it. This is just this ugly yellow, and it's like, colors everything, I guess, at least when it comes to game, you know, covers. So this game, most of you I'm sure have heard of, thanks to James and Mike Mondays, Polemides. And I mean, the name's kind of weird. Polemides is supposedly the guy that invented dice. And since you're using dice in this game, it actually makes a lot of sense. With a name that's kind of obscure to most people, you really needed a cover that was going to sell it, and this just shows you how to play the game. I mean, it's kind of neat. You don't need an instruction manual, but it's terrible at the same time. So I'm cheating on my next pick because this is a reproduction, and I saw this in the store, and I had to really look at it because you couldn't really tell what it was. Once I realized what it was, I was like, oh, I gotta snag that up. That would be Earthbound, and it's just this, you know, dark red with this dark gold that you could barely even read the title. I just feel like they could have done better, you know, because I've got some other like reproduction and homebrew games that have far better labels, and so I think especially something like Earthbound, that's considered like this legendary title, that they could have done more. So my last pick. And kind of why we rushed through this, because you're going to have to bear with me. You're going to get a little bit of a lecture here. A lot of you are probably going to look at this and go, that's not bad, that looks cool. And I'm going to explain to you why I hate this. Like, if this were a top 10 list, which it's not, but if it was, this would be number 1. I hate this box art. Love this game, though. It's a licensed game. It's based on one of my favorite TV shows, Thunderbirds. Now, the Thunderbirds logo looks pretty good on here, but that ship, that's not one of the Thunderbirds. And I think, you know, I had this idea, like maybe it's the ship that you fight at the end of the game that the Hood is using, but I've never made it that far because this game is ridiculously hard. But even if that's the case, it's got no business being on the cover. So I've got something to show you here. This is a present for my mother for my 21st birthday. The complete Thunderbirds box set on DVD. So you can see what, you know, the logo looks pretty good. And you can see, you know, some of the ships there. It's like, why couldn't they just put one of the Thunderbird ships there? Now, I got this set up at the same time the live-action Thunderbirds movie came out. the one that Jonathan Frakes directed that, you know, nobody wants to admit exists, because there are a few films I'll say are that bad, and it really was that bad. So at that same time, they put the original 2 Thunderbirds movies, Thunderbirds Are Go and Thunderbird 6 out. And I'm like, you know, these covers just show the Tracy family. They could have used that, or you can see Thunderbirds 1 and 2 on the back of this one. They could have just put one of them on there. I mean, they're easily the 2 most recognizable vehicles from the franchise. So I don't know what they're doing with that. It's terrible. And I didn't even know this game existed. I found this around 2013 in a store, and I saw it, and I was like, is that like the TV show? Because the ship's not right, but the logo is. But I didn't even know this existed, and I picked it up. And it's kind of a weird game for what it is, because it's a shooter, which doesn't fully make sense in the spirit of Thunderbirds, but at the same time, if you're going to do a Thunderbirds game, especially that era, you're just going to want to be able to pilot the vehicles. So once I realized what they did, it's like, yeah, this is cool, and it's a great shooter. I've got one complaint about it. So there's a car in the series. It's actually on the cover of this one. It's Rolls-Royce, the Fab 1. There's no level in the game where you get to drive the Fab 1, which I think that needed to be in there, but that's the only complaint. It's a fantastic game. You need to go play it. So yeah, Thunderbirds, one of the most underrated, underappreciated games on the NES, but that artwork, I hate that. I'm fanboying out on this one, but I can't stand that, okay? You could have just done that. You didn't need to do that. So those are my picks. Let's hear some of yours.